The village of Mbubu lay nestled in a valley surrounded by towering mountains, where the sun rose late and the clouds often blanketed the skies. The people were simple folk, farmers, herders, and storytellers, who depended on the rains to nourish their fields and fill their rivers. One fateful night, a storm unlike any other descended upon the valley. The wind howled like a beast, the trees bowed to its fury, and thunder rumbled so fiercely that houses shook. Amidst this chaos, a woman named Chika went into labor. Her husband Ize stayed by her side, whispering prayers to the gods as the midwife worked to bring their child into the world. At the exact moment the baby let out its first cry, a deafening crack of thunder shook the ground. The midwife gasped, dropping the infant for a brief moment before catching herself. The cry wasn't ordinary, it was deep, resonant, and powerful, echoing across the room like the roar of the storm outside. Ease and Chika stared at their newborn, their hearts filled with a mixture of awe and fear. The storm outside began to calm, as if responding to the child's arrival. The midwife crossed herself and whispered, "This child is no ordinary boy. He carries the voice of the storm." They named him Ugo, meaning eagle, but from that day, the villagers gave him another name, Ngurumo, the thunder child. As Ugo grew, it became clear that he was different. While the other children laughed and shouted during their games, Ugo spoke softly, fearing the strange power in his voice. Even a single word could carry an echo, and when he became excited or angry, his voice could cause small tremors or sudden gusts of wind. One day, when Ugo was 5, he argued with a group of boys who were teasing him. In a moment of frustration, he shouted, "Stop it!" The sound was so loud, it knocked the boys off their feet and sent birds flying from the trees. The boys ran home crying, and the villagers began to whisper. "That boy is cursed," they said. "His voice will bring ruin upon us." Even though Ugo's parents loved him deeply, they could not shield him from the growing fear of the people. Ugo began to spend more time alone, wandering the hills and forests where his voice couldn't harm anyone. It was during one of these solitary walks that he discovered his connection to nature. He realized that when he spoke to the wind, it listened. When he whispered to the trees, their branches seemed to sway in agreement. But his gift was unpredictable, and Ugo felt more like a burden than a blessing. Years passed, and Ugo's powers remained a mystery. By the time he was 10, the villagers were enduring one of the worst droughts they had ever faced. The riverbeds cracked, the crops withered, and the livestock grew thin. The elders gathered to pray to the gods for rain, but their prayers went unanswered. Nia, Ugo's mother, saw her son watching the dry fields with a look of sorrow. "Ugo," she said softly, "you were born during a storm. Maybe the heavens will listen to you." At first, Ugo hesitated, afraid of what his voice might do. But as he saw the desperation in his mother's eyes, he climbed the tallest hill overlooking the valley. Closing his eyes, he took a deep breath and spoke. "Sky above, hear me. Bring us rain to heal the earth." His voice rang out like a clap of thunder, startling the villagers. Moments later, the sky darkened and rain began to fall. The people cheered, dancing in the rain. But the joy was short-lived. The rain quickly turned into a downpour, flooding the fields and homes. The villagers, terrified, turned on Ugo. "You've cursed us," they cried. "Your voice is too dangerous." Heartbroken, Ugo decided to leave the village in search of answers. He wandered through forests and mountains, carrying only a small satchel of food and a walking stick. For months he traveled, meeting people who spoke of ancient gods and powerful gifts. One day, he came upon an old hermit living in a cave at the edge of a desert. The hermit, who called himself Mzi Chui, claimed to know the secrets of the storms. "Your voice is not a curse," Mzi Chui told Ugo. "It is a gift from the gods, but you must learn to control it. Power without wisdom can bring destruction." For the next several years, Ugo trained under the hermit's guidance. He learned to channel his voice, shaping it to bring gentle rain instead of storms, or to calm the wind instead of stirring it. Slowly, Ugo began to master his gift. By the time Ugo returned to his village, he was a young man, strong and confident. But the village he came back to was not the one he had left. A neighboring tribe, jealous of the fertile valley, had attacked. The villagers had fled to the hills, their homes destroyed. Ugo found his parents hiding in a cave with the others. When they saw him, they wept with relief. "Ugo, they've taken everything," Aze said. "We are helpless." Ugo knew it was time to use his gift. Standing at the edge of the battlefield, he called upon the heavens. Rise, winds, defend this land, and drive our enemies away. The sky darkened, and a fierce storm swept across the valley. Lightning flashed, striking the invaders' weapons, and the winds drove them away in terror. The villagers watched in awe as the storm obeyed Ugo's command. From that day on, the villagers no longer feared Ugo. They saw him as a protector, someone who could command the forces of nature to defend and nurture their land. Ugo used his gift sparingly, always mindful of the balance between power and restraint. He taught the villagers to respect the storms and the rains, to honor the earth and the skies. When he grew old, he passed on his wisdom to a group of young apprentices, ensuring that the knowledge of the Thunder Child would live on. When Ugo finally passed away, the heavens wept for him. Thunder rolled across the valley, not in anger but in mourning. To this day, the people of Mbubu tell the story of the boy who spoke in thunder and how he turned his gift into a blessing for all.